Lynn Wilder, and welcome to Easy Patchwork Math. Today we're going to go over a few of the components, and I'm going to show you how I break down the block and how I do some of the math. So what's fun about this workshop and doing it on the quilt show, normally I do this in front of a larger audience or a classroom of 12 to 15 people. And sometimes there's a fair bit of heckling going on, or we'd like to play Stump the Chump, or they like to play Stump the Chump. We won't be doing that today. So today we'll be talking about components, what components are, how do you resize them, how do you use them in a block, a sashing, and a border. And also I'm going to go over some of my tools, my favorite tools. I call them my tools of mass creation. Okay, we're going to look at what appears to be a very complex block, but it really is not. It's comprised of 4 different components. We have a square and a square, double flying geese, and 4 patches. So this is a component. This is comprised of components. This is a 9-inch block. How do I decide what size to make these components? Because I do not want to be cutting a lot of little triangles. I want to be working as a whole, but I had to decide for a 9-inch block what size to make these components. So kind of break it down. This is kind of a drafting light so that I can see there are distinct areas of this block. So when you go to quilt shows, what you can do is really study quilts. Take a look at the blocks, break them down to the smallest component. Sometimes they will allow you to take pictures, and I do say take your cameras, take your phones, and take pictures of blocks, and you can go home and recreate them. So I break this down into 3 defined sections. This is a 9-inch block. So here's the hard math of this whole thing. What is 9 divided by 3 is 3. So each of these components are going to be 3 inches. Now with the flying geese, half of 3 is 1.5. So we have a flying goose that's 3 by 1.5. A double flying goose that's 3 by 1.5. So what you need to remember when you are doing your calculations, you always begin with the finished size. You don't have to worry about your seam allowance. That is already in the formulas in the book. What do I mean when I say finished? This is 3.5 inches. When it's sewn into a block, a 9-inch block, it is going to be 3 inches. As we look at these, this is going to be 3 inches, but it's finished. Unfinished is 3.5 inches. What if we want to make the same block into a 6-inch block? Again, we have these 3 distinct divisions. What is 6 divided by 3 is 2. Each of these components will be 2 inches finished once it's sewn into the block. Let's go to something that's a little more difficult. We have a little more going on in this block. This is an irregular grid. I have 5 different divisions, and we need to know how to divide this up. Again, it's a 9-inch block. So if we take 9, and I have this 1-inch strip here, so that leaves me with 4 inches on one side, 4 inches on another. 2, 4, 5, 7, 9 inches. Again, it's very easy. Let's take a look at this block. So here we go. We have different components here in our strips, and it's broken down. Here we have it as a 6-inch block. People take a look at this block and they say, oh, you must have paper pieced that. No, it is not paper pieced. These are all individual components. This is what we're going to learn today, and this is what's so exciting about quilting with components, that you are going to be empowered, that you can make these changes that you never knew how to make before, or if you did know how to make some of them, now you're going to be learning how to make more of them. And I've also found by quilting with components, because I'm in most cases making them larger and cutting them down, the accuracy of my quilting has improved tremendously. When your accuracy improves, you're more likely to finish a project and you're not fighting with the quilt the whole time. Things are going together beautifully for you. Okay, now I'm going to talk to you about some of my favorite tools. How many of you go to quilt shows and you see a demonstration of something and you have to have that tool, you take it home and you put it in the drawer and you cannot remember how to use it? Well, I have those tools also, but I have my favorite tools and I'm going to show a few of them to you now. Block lock rulers. They are just an absolutely wonderful investment, and why they are so good is because they have this little ridge in the back, so it locks while you're cutting. There's no slipping. So I love the flying geese. I had flying geese in all different sizes, and then I have the square block lock also. Another one of my favorite tools, of course, is a rotary cutter. How many of you wait until it's like cutting cardboard before you change your blade? I recommend you change your blade often. It makes it much easier. You're not pushing your fabric along, you're actually cutting through it. Friction pens. I use friction pens when I'm marking my quilts on the back, when I'm marking my components, because I can touch this with an iron and then the ink goes away. I'm going to be using a bias square ruler. Quarter-inch ruler. There are many different quarter-inch rulers on the market. This is the one I have, and this is one I use all the time, and you'll be seeing a lot of this one today. Another great tool, and there are many different forms of the corner trimmers. This is the one I use because there is a 90-degree angle and a 45-degree angle on this tool, and we will be talking about that and using it when we're making our square in a square. This is a specialty ruler. This one I can no longer pretend that I don't need glasses because I need them when I have to read the markings for the 1/16 of an inch on this ruler. And of course our trusty calculator. Throughout the class I'm going to be giving you a lot of what I call little tipsies. One little tipsy is you can always use the calculator on your phone. And did you know that if you turn your phone sideways, you have a scientific calculator that you can use also? Not that I know how to use it, but it's there. Now I'd like to talk to you about my favorite cutting tool. It's a Martelli mat system. It's just fabulous, and let me show you why. The system comes with this wonderful little ironing pad with it. So you can place your components along here, and while you're ironing you can just rotate it and iron as you go. It's very smooth. You can also remove this and you have a wonderful cutting surface with all the markings, with the degrees, the angles that really help you throughout your cutting. So this is my favorite quilting tool, and it's my favorite because my husband made it for me. So it is a former pasta dryer, or in the shape of a pasta dryer, but mine has stadium seating so that I can see all of the strips at a glance. I used to put all of my fabric strips on wooden spoons and stick them in a bookcase to take up less room, but then the cat would walk by and was dragging them around the house. So I got the first pasta dryer, the first strip and sew off of the assembly line, and I got the prototype because there's a small boo-boo on this one, but I still love it anyway. In my class, you get to become the Julia Child of quilting, because we're going to give you the recipe and you can make up a batch of your own quilting components. So you can make sashings, borders, blocks, any size that you would like. And I do have a couple examples here to show you. This is going big. You can make a large block just by changing the size of the components. Or you can go small and make 6-inch blocks. Very tiny components. No triangles were injured in the making of this block. There are absolutely no triangles, even though it looks like it. So stick around, join us, and you'll learn some more.